It's not race or color. It's ideology. Hello and welcome to Guy Talk. Today we're going to talk about ideology. But before I do, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. Feel free to comment in the comment section. Share this video with other people. All right, so here's what I'm going to talk about today. There's a lot of talk in the news about how all the problems in our country in terms of rioting and looting and unrest in all these cities, they're all Democrat-run cities. And I thought, is that true? Is it really true that every single one of them are run by Democrats? So here's what I did. I looked up and did research on the 25 largest cities in the United States. Now, let me just say, first of all, in every one of these cities, there's been rioting and looting. But most of it, for a lot of the cities, it happened early on, meaning right after the George Floyd situation when the entire country was kind of going nuts. But since then, it's been targeted to certain cities. That's what I'm going to talk about today, okay? Some are just have a little issues, a skirmish here and there, but for the most part, a lot of cities are not tolerating it, but there's a whole bunch that are. That's for sure. So I'm just going to be straight up with you. 5 of the 25 cities, only 5 out of 25 have a Republican governor. 4 of them have a Republican mayor. That means 20 of them have a Democrat governor and 21 have a Republican mayor. A Democrat mayor. 21, a Democrat mayor. And only 1 has an independent. Okay? So, let me say that large cities that are not on the list, because there's a bunch of large cities not on the list. For example, I live in South Florida. We have Miami. We have Fort Lauderdale, both very large cities. But because they're broken up into different municipalities and stuff, and a lot of those municipalities have their own government, etc., going on, they're not part of the list. Okay? So, example, Minneapolis, Minnesota is a perfect example. They're not in the top 25, but as you know, that's where it all happened. Major unrest in Minneapolis. By the way, completely run by Democrats, okay? Right now, for example, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where things are currently erupting. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, of all places, not even close to the top 25 cities in the country, both the mayor and the governor are both Democrats. Surprise, surprise. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, for the most part, they're okay with lawlessness. Now, I know some of you are already mad at me because I said they're okay with it. Listen, when you have laws in the books that say you can't steal, you can't loot, you can't vandalize, you can't set things on fire, and then you allow it to happen, that's lawlessness. Okay? You cannot do that and expect people to respect you or anything about what you're doing. This is really what we're fighting against. For us to sit back and allow government to fail us, their number one job is to protect its citizenry. And if they're going to go out and not stop people, what happens? Well, here's what happens. It happened in Kenosha. People say, okay, you're not going to protect us, we'll protect ourselves. Then you get a bunch of people with guns saying we're going to protect ourselves, and now we got all kinds of shootings going on in Kenosha by people who are just trying to protect property, protect this, protect that. Okay? And now we got chaos. Complete chaos. Who stopped it? Nobody. Now they're starting to bring in a little bit of National Guard there after the government's been begging them to get some help. Oh, we only want this. We only want that. And the governor's saying what they want. Okay? Irresponsible. Cowardly. How dare you not let law and order be the rule of the day? It's terrible. Now, there's, again, like I said, a lot of large cities. Atlanta's not on the list. Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Like I said, they have their own. By the way, there's a distinction here between what is currently happening versus what was happening. The George Floyd thing happened like on May 25th, okay? We're in late August already. So a lot of things that were happening aren't happening right now. So here they are. Top 25. Number 25, Portland, Oregon. Yes. Kate Brown, Democrat governor. Ted Wheeler, Democrat mayor of Portland. A disaster. They've been rioting for like 80 days or something like that. It's crazy. And they keep letting them do it. I apologize for all of you in Portland. I cannot believe you have not taken over your city, though, back. Your government won't do it. You need to do it. No, is Guy Talk saying we should be vigilantes and go take our cities back? No, you should be at the mayor's house, at the Democrat governor's house, making sure that they do their job. How dare you allow people to go destroy businesses? People spent their entire lives building a business. And who gets to destroy it? Thugs who've never built anything their entire life, never done anything other than destroy things. Who are these people anyway, that we allow them? What kind of power do they now believe that they have because they can go in and nobody does anything? Do you realize how dangerous it is to give people the idea that they can go and do that and nothing's going to happen? Number 24, Tennessee. Republican governor, Democrat. This is, by the way, Nashville, Tennessee, has a Democrat mayor. Fortunately, there was a bunch of stuff going on in Nashville, little skirmishes here and there, but not major of late. Number 23, Michigan. In fact, Detroit, Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat governor. Mike Dugan, a Democrat mayor in Detroit. All right? Massive problems. That's a hot spot for a lot of stuff going on in Detroit. Democrats. Let's go to the state of Texas for number 22. El Paso, Texas is number 22. Texas has a Republican governor, and El Paso has a Republican mayor. And you know what? El Paso, pretty good. No real issues in El Paso, Texas. I wonder why. They got an R next to their name. How about that? Let's go to Massachusetts. Number 21, Boston, Massachusetts. We have a Republican governor and we have a Democrat mayor in Boston. And there was a bunch of stuff going on in Boston, but it's okay, but not great. Okay. Number 20. Woo! Unbelievable. Number 20. Washington, D.C. Muriel Bowser is your mayor. She is a disaster. Her ideology, the way that she thinks, she's allowing craziness in the streets. It's unbelievable what we're sitting back and watching in Washington, D.C. Absolutely incredible. Denver, Colorado, Democrat Governor Jared Polis, Democrat Mayor in Denver, Michael Hancock. Disaster. All kinds of stuff is happening in Denver. Washington, the state of Washington, and Seattle. Do we need to say any more about Seattle? They allowed 6 blocks of their entire city to be taken over by a bunch of crazy people, and they allowed it. Governor Jay Inslee, Mayor Jenny Durkin in Seattle. Complete disaster. I have no idea what happened to those people. First of all, how did they get elected? And second of all, how dare they not protect their citizens? It's your number one job. Now, I know I got a lot of you ticked off right now, but you know what? That's okay. I'm perfectly fine with ticking you off, especially on this issue. All right? 17, Indiana, Republican governor. Indianapolis, Indiana, Joseph Hogsett, Democrat mayor. Had some stuff going on. I'd say in between right now. Okay? North Carolina, Roy Cooper, governor, Democrat. Charlotte, North Carolina, Vi Lyles, Democrat mayor. Okay? Bunch of stuff was going on in Charlotte. I think lately it hasn't been so bad. Oh boy, here we go. California, number 15 largest city in California, in the largest city in the United States is San Francisco. And California, of course, is run by crazy person Gavin Newsom. And I tell you crazy person because he is allowing all kinds of chaos to go on in the streets, but churches can't meet, okay? Unbelievable what's happening there. In San Francisco, a Democrat mayor, London Breed, is the mayor there. And yes, San Francisco is a hot spot. A lot of crazy stuff going on there. Ohio, Republican governor, Columbus, Ohio is number 14. Andrew Ginther, Democrat mayor. Okay? Unbelievable. In Texas, again, Fort Worth, Texas, Republican governor. Betsy Price is a Republican mayor. Fort Worth does not have a lot going on there, okay? Number 12, Jacksonville, Lenny Curry, Republican. Governor of Florida is also a Republican. Not a lot really going on in Jacksonville. There's skirmishes here and there, but they put an end to it pretty quickly. Back to Texas, Austin, Texas, number 11. Stephen Adler, Democrat mayor. Bunch of stuff going on in Austin. A lot of pressure from the governor to have Stephen Adler handle it, but there's still a bunch of unrest. Back to California, San Jose, California, number 10. Gavin Newsom again, and of course the Democrat mayor, Sam Liccardo, in San Jose, and yes, it's a hot spot. A lot of stuff going on there. Why? Because they know they can get away with it. Back to Texas, number 9, Dallas, Texas. Eric Johnson's the mayor there. And for the most part, there's some skirmishes and some stuff happening, but not bad. So not too bad a job there by the Democrat mayor, Eric Johnson, because, of course, there's a Republican mayor, so there's a lot of pressure there as well. But San Diego. In San Diego, of course, that's California. You got Gavin Newsom, but the mayor of San Diego is a guy named Kevin Falconer, and he's a Republican. Not a lot going on in San Diego, okay? Surprise, surprise. Back to Texas, number 7, in San Antonio. Ron Nirenberg, he's the independent, okay? And there's a few things happening. Nothing major, but he's an independent in Texas. And, of course, the governor has a lot of influence there. Number 6, here we go. Now we're getting into it, okay? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Democrat Governor Tom Wolf. Democrat mayor in Philadelphia, James Kenney. Both Democrats. All kinds of stuff happening in Philadelphia all the time. And I wouldn't say it's a hot spot, but it's not great. Off to Arizona. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, number 5, Republican governor in Phoenix, but we have in Phoenix a Democrat mayor, Kate Gallego, and she it has all kinds of issues there. Nothing real bad because of that influence of the Republican governor. Number 4, Texas. Back to Texas. We're in Houston, Texas. Sylvester Turner is the Democrat mayor there. There's some stuff going on, but not too bad. Let's talk about the top 3 because this is where it gets really, really crazy, okay? In Illinois, we have a Democrat governor, J.B. Pritzker, and in Chicago, in the news all the time, Lori Lightfoot, okay? Lori Lightfoot, Democrat. So you got 2 Democrat governor, Democrat mayor. In California, number 2, Los Angeles, Gavin Newsom, a Democrat governor. And in Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti is the Democrat mayor. Between those two and their ideology, Los Angeles is a mess. Not only is it on fire because of the fires, but the stuff that they're allowing in Los Angeles is absolutely off the chain. Number 1, largest city, New York, New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat. In New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio. What a disaster this guy is. I cannot believe you elected this guy. He is a complete I have no words to explain how incompetent this guy is and the stuff that he allows. Larger city, New York is an absolute disaster. All of the top 3 cities in the United States are led by Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. Police officers in every one of the cities, in the top 25, there's police officers saying, I've had enough, I see where this is headed, and they're retiring. The people we need to protect us are retiring. Do you guys realize what happens when the police are not responding? You're leaving it to the citizenry to respond. And when that happens, they're not trained to respond. They're not trained to know how to deal with all this unrest, nor do they have the equipment to do it. They have guns and they got bullets. And as we saw in Kenosha, Wisconsin, they're going to probably use it if they're forced to do so. This is what's going to happen. People are going to be shot in the streets all over the place. Why? Because apparently 50% of the United States, and I don't believe it's really that bad, okay, of people are okay with lawlessness. I think it's the leadership. So today's episode is about you hearing what I'm saying, and I want you to really think really hard about the party that you have affiliated yourself with. Every one of those cities has officers retiring and getting out, leaving those cities undermanned. Let's take a close look for a moment at Chicago, okay? Murders and crime in Chicago is completely out of control. I wonder why that is. Well, let's look at this, okay? Not just the mayor, not just the governor being a Democrat. Did you know that the Chicago superintendent of police is a Democrat? That the Cook County, which is where Chicago is, state attorney is a Democrat. The chief judge of Cook County Circuit Court is a Democrat. The Illinois Attorney General is a Democrat. The Chicago Fire Department commissioner is a Democrat. The Cook County Board president is a Democrat. The state Senate majority leader, a Democrat. The Illinois lieutenant governor is a Democrat. The Illinois secretary of state, a Democrat. The clerk of the courts of Cook County, a Democrat. The Cook County clerk is a Democrat. The Chicago treasurer is a Democrat. The Chicago police board president, a Democrat. The Chicago transit authority president is a Democrat. The CEO of Chicago Public Schools is a Democrat. The commissioner of the Department of Water Management is a Democrat. Of course, Chicago is a mess. The ideology of these people, and this is the crazy thing, Chicago, why? This has been like 50 years. Do you allow this to happen over and over and over again? At some point, you have to vote these crazy people out. But why don't you? Is it because they're giving you a bunch of free stuff? Well, we're here now. This is what happens. This is the result of what happens when you allow crazy people to run your cities, and they allow crime to run amok. Chicago is a perfect example of a great city who's it's just erupted. Gangs are going crazy in the streets, and now they're starting to move it out to the suburbs, and where decent, family, God-loving people live. And now they're all trying to figure out how they're going to handle this. Why? Because the police and the crazy ideology of these people out there, they're not doing anything about it. They're not stopping it. They should be all over it, but they're afraid to, okay? Unbelievable. Do you know in the past week, listen to this, there was 126 people in the last week shot in Chicago and 96 people shot in New York. Not one of these people was shot by a cop, and not one of them was shot with a legal gun owner. Not one. That ought to tell you what's going on. And by the way, Chicago, toughest gun laws in the United States. Not one of those people, not one of those 126 people were shot by a legal gun owner. Why? You got tough laws, but you don't enforce them. There's the problem. Look who's running pretty much every aspect of the city of Chicago. The mentality and ideology that these people have, it's not capable of winning and having success. It's not capable. Their schools are a mess. Everything about these cities are absolute disasters. So why is this overwhelmingly happening in Democrat-run cities? You guys, it's the way they think. Listen, I know many of you people listening to me right now are Democrats. I get it. I know you're Democrat, okay? What I'm trying to do is get you to begin to think for a moment if you really want to align yourself with this kind of craziness. Now, let me also say this. When I talk about Democrats right now, I'm talking about the progressive, socialist, Marxist, communists that are trying to take over our country, that hate our country, hate our Constitution, hate the values that we were founded on. That's what I'm talking about. Now you're saying, well, I'm a Democrat and I don't think that way. Your party thinks that way. In fact, when I grew up, so many of you are aware, my parents were Democrats. So guess what I was growing up? A Democrat. But the way that my parents thought back then, you know what they'd be today? Conservatives. They'd be conservative Republicans. That's how far left, how far off the reservation the Democrat Party is right now. In fact, if you're a what they call middle-of-the-road Democrat, you have no choice but to be on the Republican side. There's no way you can align yourself with the craziness that's going on the other side. It is, unless you are just completely godless, not God-fearing at all, don't believe in our Constitution, don't believe in anything we're about. Because that's what they're trying to do, completely change the country. In fact, I'll bet a bunch of you don't even know what's going on in your party. So here's my challenge to you. Go look. Start studying. Start getting some facts about what's happening. Okay? Don't let people tell you what you're supposed to think. I remember when I became a Republican, I was 16 years old. I became a Christian. And you know what? Old things pass away. Behold, all things become new. I started thinking for myself. At 16 years old, I started going, wait a minute. We say this, but and none of it made any sense to me. At 16, when I'm supposed to be a liberal, right? So my entire life from 16 till now, last 42 years, listen, being a Democrat and being a Christian makes no sense. Everything the Democrats are about is exactly the opposite of what God's word is about. You can't align yourself with that. Now, I know I'm really ticking some of you off because you're a Democrat and you go, I'm a Christian. Okay. I didn't say you can't be a Democrat and a Christian. I said it just doesn't make sense. You got to think about it. Or get mad or turn me off, unsubscribe, whatever you got to do. It doesn't make sense to have this ideology. It's incongruent with what God's word says. So, bottom line, can you really associate with all these crazies? That's what you've done. By the way, that's why Guy Talk is here. To keep you informed and have an opinion different than maybe your own. Now, for some of you, I'm speaking to the choir. You're going, go, Guy, go. Give it to him. I get that. But you know what? This particular episode, it's about trying to get some of you to think a little bit. The Democrats have a victim mentality, not a victor mentality, a victim mentality. Everything that happens to you is always somebody else's fault. All of these politicians, blame, 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 all the way down the line, and their cities are a mess, and they're never held accountable. It's been going on for 50 plus years. Why are you taking it? Why are you allowing terrible schools? Why are you allowing no choice? It's unbelievable what's going on. And you sit back and allow it. Democrats don't take personal responsibility. They just don't. Personal responsibility is a foundational value that all of us should have. Democrats believe government is the answer to everything. It's not. Democrats believe in big government. What do you get with big government? A bunch of power-hungry progressives that attempt to control your life. That's what you get. Democrats believe, listen now, they believe you're not smart enough to think for yourself and that you need them. Listen, all of you out there, you are smart enough to think for yourself and you don't need them to tell you what to do. My observation has been that a bunch of Democrats are like sheep going to slaughter. They just get in line and they take it over and over and over again. I don't understand why you don't start thinking for yourself. Do you realize it's impossible to win in life if everything that goes on in your life is somebody else's problem? Some greedy rich person out there caused this. Some greedy Republican person who is just a hate-filled person. That's garbage. Over and over again, you believe it. This is why so many people are coming over to the Republican side or to the conservative side of all colors and races and cultures, because they're looking, they're going, that makes no sense. I came to America to be free, not to have this go on, especially people who came from like Cuba or Venezuela here in South Florida, loaded with those people. They see the writing on the wall. They see all the things that are going on right now in our country. That's what happened in their country before it was taken over by the crazies. And they had to flee and come to the last bastion of complete freedom in the world, the United States. That's why we can't let this happen. We get people in power, and here's what they believe. They believe good is evil. They put darkness in the place of light, and light in the place of darkness. People who substitute bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. We get people that think they're so smart and they hold such a high opinion of themselves. That's a perfect description of the Democrat Progressive Party. And what I just told you came out of the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20 and 21. We are there right now, you guys. Right now, we are there. Most of these leaders are not God-fearing, they're godless. And they certainly have a worldview, the way they look at things in the world, where they are their own God. They're accountable to no one. They're the ones in power. They make decisions, and they tell most of you what to do. What's the results? I'm going to go through some things. I'm going to tell you what the results are. Number one, lawlessness, looting, rioting, arson, vandalism, assault on cops, people defending the riots and calling it reparations. I could not believe what I heard in Chicago, going into all these stores. I do not understand how in the world you have a mentality that you think it's okay to take stuff that's not yours. Where does that come from? Do you not have parents that raised you right? It's unbelievable that you can go and break things and set things on fire and steal and then get on camera and call it reparations and say it's okay. It's unbelievable. Without law and order, we cease to exist. We must have law and order. In some of our Democrat-run cities, that is what we have right now. Complete lawlessness. The Democrat Party just a week ago held their convention. Not one word was spoken about what's going on in our cities. Not one word. Why? Because they own it. They're okay with it. They agree with it. They think it's going to help them win an election. Absolute anarchy going on. And I know most of you are good people and you do not agree with it. You need to speak up and stop this craziness. Number two, destroying our history, taking down statues. Have you ever wondered why now? Why is it now that we're taking down statues? For 8 years, President Obama was our president. And these statues stayed up. Nobody had a problem with them for eight years. He was sympathetic to the cause of the Democrats. No problem with statues. All of a sudden, we have a Republican who has a personality that rubs you the wrong way, and you think you have the right to destroy our history. Who are you? Who are you that think it's okay to destroy our history? I've said this in prior episodes. I want to say it again here. For 8 years, you had an opportunity to do all of that. You did nothing with statues. And now, you go out and destroy our history? Who are you? What did you ever accomplish or do that gave you the right to tear down history? We don't make statues of people that don't do great things with their life. The only people that get statues are great people that did amazing things. That's who gets statues. Does it mean they're sinless? No, it doesn't mean they're sinless. Of course not. Some of them did own slaves back then. Don't even let me get into that. They're not sinless, but they did amazing things for our country. It's part of our history. And who do we have tearing it down? The most sinful people of all. Anarchists who've never done anything with their life. Zero. And we let these people come in and create this kind of stuff in our country. All right, let's go to number 3. Defund the police? I'm sorry, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That leads to what we have now. Crime and murder is up in all of these cities. We can't defund our police. Number 4, take guns away? There's a reason. This is part of our Constitution. The Founding Fathers knew that it was possible for government to get so full of themselves that the American people needed a way to stop an out-of-control government. Now, I know when the Founding Fathers put that in there, they didn't know that it was going to be like it is today. But this is exactly what's happening. If a government won't protect you, you have to protect you. So we got to fix government so they will protect us. Number 5, open borders. This is the ideology that we're dealing with? Sure, everybody, come on in. Doesn't matter who you are. We don't want to vet you. We don't want to find out what you're all about. We don't care what your background is. Anybody can come into this country. By the way, do you lock your house? That's what I thought you do. Why? Because you want to keep bad people out. Do you lock your car? Yes. Why? Because you don't want people to steal anything or steal your car. Open borders make no sense. And you know that. We need to know who's coming in. We have a process for that. You can't cut the line and just come in whenever you want. It doesn't work that way. That's back to lawlessness. We need to know who's coming in. The only reason the ideology of Democrats wants open borders is because there's a permanent voting base for them. Because they get free stuff. They come in, they get free health care, free food, free everything. And they know they'll vote for them for the rest of their life. This is about power. And when somebody's only objective is power, be careful. Number 6, and this is controversial, but I'm going to tell you about it. LGBTQ and all the other letters of the alphabet they keep adding. It's so confusing. I can't even keep up with it. For a large majority of Americans, we believe that God made us male and female. Period. We are not about people choosing from day to day who or what they are when it comes to gender. I know it's fluid and we're supposed to accept everybody, but here's the problem, okay? This issue's divisive, okay? I get it. I know it triggers a lot of you, but I got to speak the truth. Here's what it says in Romans chapter 1, verse 26 and 27. For this reason, God gave them up. When God says he gives you up, that's a dangerous place to be. And here's what he says after that. To vile passions. For even their women exchange the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in lust for one another. Men with men, committing what is shameful and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was due. I didn't write it. But it's the value of God's word. Am I allowed to have that opinion without being told that I'm hateful or racist or there's something wrong with me? No. I know a lot of people who are gay. I love them as people. But what they're doing is wrong. Just like I do stuff wrong sometimes. It's okay. It's not hate. Don't get mad or emotional. I didn't write that, by the way. If you got a problem with what was written there, take it up with the author. He wins every time. I just want you to know the majority of Americans are not about this, on this issue. It doesn't mean we hate or despise people. We just disagree. It only becomes hate when you won't tolerate me having a different opinion than yours. I'm okay with you having that opinion. I just want you to consider what God says about it. That's it. Here's another one, number 7. Abortion. Where's all the outrage with murdering millions of innocent babies? I just don't get it. How in the world can you tolerate that and have no issue with it? And yet you're freaking out about the murder of George Floyd. Now listen, it was terrible what those cops did. And they're going to have their day in court and be punished accordingly. But is George Floyd really the guy you want to go all in on? This entire movement erupted because of George Floyd. Those babies were innocent. Was George Floyd innocent? Was he? He was anything but. Again, what happened to him was terrible. But we got to take a look at this person as a person. His record speaks for itself. He had a long history, a criminal past. Let's talk about it. George Floyd, he moved to Minneapolis in 2014 after being released from prison in Houston, Texas, following an arrest for aggravated battery. And then, of course, on May 25th, 2020, He was arrested for passing a counterfeit $20 bill at a grocery store in Minneapolis. And then that terrible incident occurred. By the way, at the time, and this just came out, it took a long time for it to come out. Instead of just coming out with it right away, we might have been able to stop some of the craziness in the streets, but no. And now it came out and nobody's even talking about it. He was under the influence of fentanyl and methamphetamines. And from what the report says, the dosage level was more than enough to kill you. Did you all know that George Floyd was screaming that he can't breathe way before he was on the ground and had that knee to his neck? He was saying it the whole time. Now listen, I'm not telling you what they did was right. I'm not telling you that at all. But that could have very well been what the fentanyl and methamphetamines was doing to him. I know you don't want to talk about it, but here's what worries me. This has got to go to court eventually. If there's a likelihood that these guys get off, because the evidence, and I know Democrats don't like evidence all the time, the evidence shows he had a lethal dose of fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system. That would mean this whole cause was for naught. He had more than a decade-old criminal history at the time of the arrest and went to jail for those crimes at least 5 times. He was the ringleader of a violent home invasion. He pled guilty to entering a home, taking a gun, and pointing it at the stomach of a pregnant woman while his cohorts ravaged the house and stole a bunch of stuff. He was sentenced 10 months in state prison for that. Possession of cocaine in December 2005. Previously been sentenced to 8 months for the same offense stemming from an October 2002 arrest. Arrested in 2002 for criminal trespassing and served 30 days in jail. He had another stint for a theft in August of 1998. Oh, that record's not enough? That's a lot of stuff, you guys. This guy was not some upstanding citizen. Yeah, I heard he was trying to get his life together and all that. That's great. But your past has consequences. Certainly not his death. Oh, did I mention that he appeared in porn videos? Now, I know that we're not supposed to talk about that. I understand. This is not an upstanding citizen. Yet there's no outrage whatsoever about millions of babies who are completely innocent being aborted. And, by the way, your party is okay with them being aborted right up to the time they're born. There's nothing more evil than that, which is why it says people will call evil good and good evil. Unbelievable. The whole movement erupted on this. When are we going to tear down, by the way, the statues and the shrine that's been built to George Floyd? Because he is not sinless. Just like those great leaders of America were not sinless. But yet we now build George Floyd up as the reason we're doing all of what we're doing. By the way, am I the only one that sees the irony in all of this? We tear down the statues of great men in our history and build up a shrine and a statue, metaphorically, to George Floyd? When are we going to tear that down? By the way, there's plenty of injustices going on when President Obama was in office. Where was all the outrage then? Why were the statues not being torn down then? You had 8 years. Were all those statues okay then and now they're not okay? Because you don't like the personality or the way that the current president goes about his business? President Obama was sympathetic to your cause. He would have probably helped you tear down those statues. Why did you not do it then? Why is it now? Wake up. You know why. There's an election coming. And the Democrats will do anything to get power back. Next up, Planned Parenthood. This is related to the abortion issue. Should we be paying for the abortions of Americans? No, we should not. Take personal responsibility. The majority of Americans do not want to pay for other people's abortions and irresponsible behavior. They don't want to do that. By the way, let's throw birth control pills into the mix as well, because now Americans have to pay for that through their health insurance because somebody else wants to control whether a baby's born or not. Why should I have to pay for the birth control for people? No, it's not right either. Shouldn't have to pay for abortion, shouldn't have to pay for birth control pills. You all realize these are choices that people make. And the consequences of those actions should be the burden of the individual, not the government through taxes. This goes back to what I told you earlier. They think you're too stupid, that they have to protect you. Do you not realize that everything the Democrats do is all centered around power over you because they don't think you're smart enough to make decisions on your own? Please think through that. 10th, free health care, even for illegal immigrants. Free college loan forgiveness, free. Everything's free. Who's going to pay for the free, by the way? You know what I can't understand? I cannot understand why there's not one Democrat who knows how to do math. Freaks me out. This is the ideology I'm talking about. And now I know for those of you out there who could care less who pays for it, you realize it leads to the destruction of our country when we take away responsibility and tell everybody everything's free. I could go on all day with more issues on the craziness of the liberal, socialist, Marxist, communist Democrats, but I won't. I think by now you get my point. This is the thinking that is destroying our country. The results speak for themselves. Look at our largest cities. Democrats run them all, but place blame on everybody else. It's not race or color. It's ideology. Take responsibility, leaders. And it's time for patriots to rise up, to speak up. Enough is enough. We love our country. We love our principles and our founding values. We love our values. We love our God. We love our faith. We love our Declaration of Independence. We love the Constitution. We love law and order. We love our police departments. And we will fight for these values, and we will vote for these values. That's what we need to do. Stand up. So, am I wrong? Comment in the comment section, because I know you're mad at this one. Share this video to like-minded patriots, and especially share it to those that are not like-minded, because this is the conversation you wish you could have with them, but you know you can't because it'll just be an argument. So just send them the video. They watch it, they don't, whatever. Hit the subscribe button and the bell as we build more momentum for the channel. Until next time, God bless you and your family.